It's time for a wrap up of all 16 books that I read in the month of October. I had some really great reads. I had some 2-star reads and I also had some 4.5 out of 5-star reads. So we had a really wild but great month. So I'm gonna go through these in order of like least favorite to most favorite. So comment below the books that you've read this month, the ones that you absolutely loved and the ones that you absolutely could not stand, so that we can kind of get a vibe of like what the month was like for everyone. I hope you guys enjoy this video and let's just get into it. So we're gonna start out with the 2.5 star reads. Now I am not someone who DNFs books, and it's because I always feel like a book can maybe just like come back. You know what I mean? I want to give them their time to like make me fall in love with it, and sometimes it does happen. Sometimes I'll be like, oh my god, I cannot stand this story. I like don't like these characters, and by the end I like it a lot more. Now it's never really happened where it's went from like a 2-star to like a 5-star read, but there have been times where I'm like, okay, this is like 1 or 2 stars and it ends up being like a 3-star read and something that I would recommend. So I don't know, I'm not saying that you like shouldn't DNF, because I think that there are some books that people probably just don't want to read. But for me, I love that I finished them because one, I can give recs and reviews to you guys, and also there's some books that I've read where I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, but I can see why someone else would like it. So these are the books that are like 2.5 star reads. The first one is The Boyfriend. I just did not care for this book, and I think the reason is because the pacing was so different from other Freida McFadden books that I've read. The writing was also very like mid. It just didn't have a lot of depth, and it's not that I need like intricate, like flowery wording or anything like that, but the words were just so plain. Like there's one part where the main character is like, oh, like my roommate like has more money than me, like, or I think that she said something like, my roommate's house is like so much bigger than mine, like when I go in it's like, you know, huge or whatever, like where she grew up was like a really big house, and then like right after that it's like, my roommate has more money than me, or something along those lines, where it's like we kind of picked up what you were putting down when you said that the roommate's house was like big. So like we kind of assume that like maybe they had more money than you because you said your house is smaller. So things like that, where I feel like the author was just like telling us everything, and I'm like, you can allude to something because we can pick it up like what you're putting down, especially because we're readers, and I feel like readers a lot of the time have a lot of critical thinking skills. So I don't know, this also is the type of book that I go into just wanting to be like super fast paced. Like all Freida McFadden's books I expect to be fast paced because that's kind of been her writing style, and this one just didn't have the pacing that I wanted. I don't know, I really liked The Teacher from her this year that she like came out with, but the other 2 books that she released I just wasn't a huge fan of. This one and the other book that came out in the Housemaid series, I just was like, I could have literally done without it. I'm glad that I finished it because there was like a nice twist at the end, but if someone were to be like, hey, which Freida McFadden book should I read, I would literally be like, this is not even on the list of books that I would really recommend. And then I read Powerful. You know those like memes that are like, this couldn't have been an email? I really feel like this could have been an email. Like we did not need a whole book of this. Like we should have put this like maybe in an extended like addition to the first book, or maybe you put it in Reckless somewhere. Like I don't know, I just was like, this did not need to be a book. And I understand that the author is probably trying to capitalize on how much people love the first book, so she wanted to like throw out a little novella because she knew everyone would buy it, myself included. But I just really feel like we didn't need it. I feel like you didn't get a lot of fantasy, you did get a lot of romance, but to me, I don't read fantasies like at all. Like I think I've read like a handful, like 5 maybe max. So when I go into a fantasy, even if it's a romance, I do want it to be like heavy romance if it's like a romantasy, but I don't want the romance to overtake the fantasy because otherwise I just read a romance, you know what I mean? So this for me just didn't hit. I feel like I didn't really learn much about any of the characters. It just kind of felt like filler pages. Like I don't know, it just like this could have been an email. It's also so short. It's like, why? Like I just don't know why. Not only short, but it's also short and like tiny. Like this book is literally like such a smaller like height than other books. And then the other like 2.5 star read is Local Woman Missing. This book I had a hard time rating 2.5 stars because I was very close to rating it 3 stars, but just thinking about how the first half of the book really just felt like a drama. Like if you read Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, which is a book that I love and always recommend, it definitely gave like drama. Like it gave drama with like a splash, a sprinkle, a little bit of thriller vibes. This is in the thriller section. So if I see a book that is like, it's like, you know, people are telling you to read it for the thrills, I'm expecting the thrills. And I feel like the first half of the book was just like suburban people doing suburban things, like nothing really wild is happening. And then all of a sudden it starts to like pick up pace, but it took a while to get into. And if I was the type to DNF books, I probably would have just like let go of this one halfway through. Like the ending I do think redeemed the book, which again is a reason why I love like actually finishing books, because if someone's like, hey, should I keep reading this book? Is it worth like getting to the end? I would say keep reading it because you're already halfway through and like the first half is the hard part. But if someone were to be like, should I read this book? Should I start it? I would be like, there's better thrillers. At least for me, like for me, the things I look for in thrillers are it needs to be fast paced. Like I don't care about the characters. I don't trust any of them anyway, because like with thrillers, like everyone could potentially be the villain. So I don't trust anyone. So it's not really about character development for me. It's more about keeping the pacing, maybe keeping things a little intricate. It doesn't have to be too intricate, but intricate enough where I can't guess the ending. And this like didn't really pick up until the end. The end I did not guess though, which was really nice. And then let's get into the 3-star reads that I had. I have to like figure out where exactly the 3 stars stop. I think the 3 stars stop at, I need to double check because I don't want to tell you guys that I rated something 3 stars and I rated it 3.5. It's like a very big difference. Okay, so the 3 stars stop here. So these are all 3-star reads. Honestly, this month, the thrillers just weren't doing it for me. I don't know what it was. I was definitely in a thriller mood, but they just like weren't hitting the way that I wanted them to. This one is called The Good Lie by A.R. Torre. I've heard great things about this author's writing. I couldn't even tell you what this book's about. I couldn't even tell you what it's about. Oh, okay, now I'm reading the back, I'm like, okay, I remember. Like, it just is one of those where it's like, was kind of forgettable. I also think that 3-star thrillers are different to me than 3-star romances. And I said what I said, I don't know if anyone else is like that, but to me, like a 3-star thriller is not a great thriller, but a 3-star romance can be a great romance. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense to anybody? I feel like there are many times where I will pick up a romance just for a cozy, cutesy comfort read. It doesn't have to be anything like special. It can just be something to like make my heart warm. Thrillers, I want to be good. I want thrillers to like keep me thrilled. And I feel like when the ratings start to go down is like when I'm not really thrilled through the story. So yeah, this one I just was kind of like, it's okay. I genuinely don't even really remember half the story until I looked at the back of the book. I do remember while I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is like good, pretty good. Like I don't know, it was just like mid. Another book that I think I ended up rating 3 stars, but now that I think about it, it's like maybe this should have been 3.5 because I feel like I enjoyed this book a lot more than this one, but it is The Perfect Marriage. Maybe if I were to go back, maybe I would say 3.5 because this book was one that, no, actually I remember why I rated it 3 stars. Okay, I think I rated it 3 stars because the ending I kind of guessed. Like it was pretty predictable most of the story, but the story itself was really unique. If you liked Verity by Colleen Hoover and it kind of had like a mix of romance and it had like the thrilling aspects of like the thriller story, I feel like you'll like this because it has a mix of romance and all that kind of stuff in it. I didn't really talk about the other books and what they're about, but as I get into more of the books that I really enjoyed, I feel like I'll share more about them. This is about a attorney or lawyer or whatever, and her husband is they think that he murdered someone, and so she actually decides to like represent him. So she's trying to decide like, did he do it, did he not do it? So this was one that I was very I was kept on the edge of my seat about it, but I kind of knew like what was gonna happen. Like, and it was kind of predictable, but it was still enjoyable. But I think that if it hadn't been predictable and the ending had been different, it would easily be like a 4-star read because the story itself did keep me invested. And then I read The Christmas Catch. It was cute. And this is what I mean by like romances and thrillers, like 3 stars. Like I knew that this would probably be 3.5 stars. Like Christmas romances, I think the only Christmas romance I've rated more than 3.5 stars is the Holidates, which I rated 4 stars. And it's just because Christmas reads are usually short novellas. They're very predictable. You know what's gonna happen, but like it's just for the vibes. Like it's truly just for like the Christmas spirit, to get you in the Christmassy mood. And it's like, it's just fun, you know? So like this book, I kind of knew going into it, it would be like that, but I still really enjoyed it. This is also a book that doesn't have any spice. So if you're wanting something that doesn't have spice and also has like elements of like Christianity and stuff, I feel like you'll like this. It's perfect for the holiday season. And not only does it have those elements, there still is the tension of the romance. You know what I mean? Like I hate when I read books that are like, this is a romance, there's no spice, but there's like nothing. You know what I mean? Like we're adults here. Like you don't have to show them kissing or you don't have to show them like holding hands or anything, but I need to feel the tension. I need to feel that when they look at each other, they get like a little zing. You know what I mean? Like if it's young adult, like I totally understand if you don't want to add that in there and it's a romance and you don't want any of the tension. But as a adult romance, I need the tension, especially if there's no like spice. So this one definitely had that. They had many moments where they're just like glancing at each other and you could feel the tension between them, and the whole book you're like, like it was cute. 3 stars, love that one. And then I also read 12th Night. This is a book that I think would be great for like a young adult book club because it turns a lot of stereotypes on their head. The main character, she's like into gaming, but while she's gaming, she's like pretending to be a guy gamer so that she isn't like treated differently in the gaming world. And then there's this popular guy who he is like just getting into gaming, but he doesn't want to tell anyone. It's kind of a secret. It's just, I really liked it. I feel like this one would be great for a young adult book club. Again, 3 stars. This is also the author who wrote the Atlas 6. So it definitely has writing that is, very like good for adults too. Like if you want to read a young adult book that doesn't feel like it's written for young adults, like it does but it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like the writing is still like very in-depth. I feel like you'll really like this one. I enjoyed it a lot. And then I have the 3.5 star reads. I have to make sure we stop at the right cutoff because I have them all in this stack. And sometimes like the 3.5, 4 stars, they like mix me up a bit. But I think that these right here are the 3.5 star reads. Again, thrillers just weren't doing it for me this month. This one was okay. It was okay. I listened to this one on audiobook partially, and I did really like how it had like a cast of characters and like there were like noises and stuff and like sounds. That was enjoyable. I feel like that is my favorite type of audiobook to listen to. I do a lot of like tandem listens with thrillers specifically. Not always, but if it's a thriller that I like start and I'm just kind of like, it's like okay, like I might tandem listen to it because it's something that I can like turn on while I do my dishes, while I just am like out and about, driving, showering, whatever. And so with this thriller, that's what I did, and it was good. Again, good, not great. It was fine. I feel like I, again, have never rated a thriller 5 stars, and I feel like I want to like be on the hunt next year for a thriller that's 5 stars. If you've read a thriller that was a 5-star read, comment it below. The thrillers that I really loved, that I rated highly, Never Lie by Freida McFadden, that was a 4-star thriller. I also really love The Butterfly Garden. I think I also rated that 4 stars by Dot Hutchinson. I don't know, books that are fast-paced, but also books that have like intricate, which Never Lie was not intricate by any means, but it was very fast-paced. Books that have a very fast pace to them and have intricate details that like, it's just so hard for those things to mesh. I feel like if you get fast-paced, you get very like easy writing, like you get, you know what I mean? Like you don't get intricate. But then sometimes if you get intricate, you get too wordy, too slow, and you don't get the pacing. Like the pacing for me is like so key. I'm not a mystery reader because of that reason. Like, I feel like if I read mysteries, they'll just feel too slow for me. I need it to be fast paced. Otherwise, I would just read another romance. You know what I mean? Like, usually when I go into thrillers, I'm expecting something fast paced that I don't want to put down. So read that. What a Match by Mimi Grace. This was a 3.5 out of 5-star read, but honestly, I was very on the fence as to whether I wanted to rate it higher. I do think it ended up being at a good rating. It was very cute. I really love this one. It's perfect for autumn. It's spicy, and I feel like I was like very surprised by how much spice there was in this book. But I definitely want to continue the series. This is the second book in a series, but you don't have to read them in order at all. Really, really like this one. And then I read Dirty Kisses. Is this 3? No, these are, oh yeah, these are 3.5 out of 5-star reads, because I was like, I couldn't remember if I ended up rating this one 4 stars or not, but I rated it 3.5. This is a urban romance, but like it definitely gives dark romance vibes, like a mafia romance. And I always say dark romance vibes because if you're someone who has not read urban romance, I feel like you won't know like the vibe of the book. You know what I mean? Like you just won't know what it is, because I feel like the way that it's marketed in bookstores is like, ooh, it's like that corner that you don't like look at, and it's like doesn't have new updated books. Like every time I go to Barnes and Noble, or really most bookstores, the urban romance section is like off hidden in a corner somewhere with books that were like released in the 1990s. And I feel like there are so many incredible urban romance books that I've loved, like Demon's Dream, Luca by Gray Huffington. I really got into more urban romance books. Save Her For Me by Cami. I could go on and on and on, because I have really started to love this like section of books so much. But when I explain that I'm reading this book and I say it gives dark romance vibes, urban romance and dark romance is very different, but for someone who doesn't read urban romance, I think that you will love urban romance if you already read dark romance. They're similar, but very different. I'd say the differences, I don't know, it's hard to explain the differences, but you definitely get a lot of characters who are similar to dark romance in the sense of like you get a lot of like alpha males, or a lot of people who are getting like killed left and right, you know, like you get that kind of vibe. But sometimes you get billionaires, sometimes you get like mafia, sometimes you get people who are just like, you know, in a different part of the city and they're like in different gangs and stuff. Like you get so many different things, but I think like the thing that connects is there's definitely a lot of spice in the ones that I've read. I haven't really read an urban romance that doesn't have a lot of spice. I have not read an urban romance that has like the stalker like trope, which I feel like is in a lot of books that I've read that are in the dark romance like genre. So that's like one difference. I don't know, I feel like they're very similar, but different, but very similar. So if you read dark romance, pick up a freaking book that is in the urban romance section. And maybe the reason why, if you read dark romance, the reason why you haven't connected with some of the romance books by Black authors that maybe I've shared or other people have shared, is because you're reading books that you don't even really like to read. Like, why would you read a fluffy, cutesy romance when you normally read dark romance and expect to like it, you know? So these, I think, are the ones that you would love. But long story short, anyway, I have been loving this like section of like books so much. I feel like I definitely have to be in the right mood because I know that there's a lot of spice. This is a mafia romance and it is very good, super fast paced. I heard that there's like 16 books in the series. So if you're someone who loves a long series, you can really pick this one up, eat it up, read the next one very quickly. I definitely want to continue the series because this was one that I was like, ooh, it's spicy, but it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. And then I have my 4-star reads. It's funny that almost every section has like 3 books in it, roughly. I read Charming as a Verb. This book was so cute, and I've been saying I'm not in a young adult mood. And it's just because I feel like I'm not reading the right young adult books, because this book is a young adult book and I loved every second of it. It was funny. I laughed out loud so much. It's about a guy who has a dog walking business, and this girl, she finds out that he's doing something that's kind of sketch with his dog walking business, and she's like, if you don't take me to parties and teach me kind of how to like be popular and stuff and like make friends, I'm going to tell your secret with this dog walking business so you can like stop getting business. So he's like, wait, hold on, I'll help you. So they kind of band together together in that way, but there's so many other things that happen in the book. Pick up this book. If you like young adult books and you want to like read a book maybe by an author you've never heard of before, because this was my first time reading any of Ben's work, you will really like this one. It was funny, it was cute. It's also told from the guy's POV, which I feel like you don't see very often in books. So this would be great if you have a maybe son in high school or something and you want them to read a story that they can like resonate with. I don't think it has the girl's POV at all, if I remember correctly. Really love this one a lot. And that's one I'll definitely be recommending. And then I read The Black Queen by Jumada Mill. This was another 4-star read for me. It's about a girl at the school who ends up getting killed and no one really knows what happened. They're like, did she die by accident? Did someone murder her? Like, we don't know. Like, we're trying to figure it out. And the whole book is set around that, but there's definitely so many themes of like racism. And I feel like if you read books that have like the element of suspense or just like something like this happening, but you want to have deeper themes as well, I feel like this one will be one that you'll really resonate with. It reminded me a lot of Tiffany D. Jackson's work. Like, she has stories where they'll be like thrillers, like Monday's Not Coming. Thrillers where like a lot's happening and like keeps you on the edge of your seat, but within that there's also deeper themes that like make you really think. And this literally felt so similarly to that book. And then I read Where We Found Our Home. I only have one more book of Natasha Bishop's that I haven't read because I think she's only released 4 books in total, and I've read 3, which is like so sad because she's one of my favorite auto-buy authors. Her books are the books that you do not want to put down, like at all. And they're also super easy reads, so I always recommend her books to new readers. If you're someone who likes like Colleen Hoover style of writing where it's like fast paced, not the same. Don't think it's the same because it's not. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm saying that if you like the fast paced romances that like you won't want to put down, you know, this is that type of book. And a lot of her books, actually I think all of them are less than 300 pages. They're like usually 278, you know, right at 300, which I think is honestly the perfect length for a book. Her books are a little bit taller than other books, so it does kind of make up for it in that way, but they're still like a great length, I think. This book is the first book in this series. I actually read the 3rd book in this series first, so I went back to the first book, finished this one, and now I'm going to read the second one. All of her books I've rated 4 stars, like every single one. None of them have been rated higher than 4 stars, but none of them will ever be rated lower than 4 stars, I don't think. Like, her books are just so good in that way. She reminds me a lot of Brittany Cherry's writing because it's very fast paced. There's always something that happens that leaves you like, whoa, I didn't think that was gonna happen. And I really love that. So those were my 4-star reads. And then to get into my 4.5 out of 5-star reads, these are the books that you probably heard me talk about a ton this month. In the last video that I did, I shared books that I've read. And the way that I shared it was like sharing all the books that I read, and then I shared like my top 5. I decided this time to share them based on my rating because I thought that would be kind of like fun. So let me know if you guys like this style. Also in the past, I've also done like, here are all the young adult books that I've read. Here are all the thrillers that I've read. Here are all the, you know what I mean? So let me know if you guys like this style. I think I like this style better sharing like my book recs because you can see me go from like least excited to most excited for like the books that I finished in the month. But if you like them separated by genre, I can also do that too because I read a lot of different genres. I read thrillers, I read romance, I read fantasy, I read historical fiction, I have read, did I say young adult? Yeah, so I've read like a pretty well-rounded, I've had a pretty well-rounded month, which is good. But the books that I've read in my like 4.5 out of 5-star reads, and honestly both of these books were so close to being rated 5 stars. The first one is The Yellow Wife by Sadiqa Johnson. If you do not like historical fiction, okay, I don't want to say if you don't like it, because if you don't like it, maybe you won't like this book. If you've never read historical fiction, pick up this book. Like, I'm dead serious. Pick up this book. If you've never read historical... what was that? If you've never read historical fiction books and you think it's gonna be boring, pick up this book because it's not. Like, it literally is not. This book jumps right into things. I think that by I think I had to get to probably the second chapter to be like locked in, because you guys know I'm a big dialogue girly, and the first chapter doesn't have a ton of dialogue. So I was just kind of like, like, I don't know if it's gonna be like interesting, whatever. Second chapter, hooked, like right away, hooked. And from then on to the rest of the end of the story, I was hooked. This is a story that is about the Devil's Half Acre. There's so much talk of like plantations and slavery and stuff in this, and that was actually something I never thought I would really want to read about, because I'm like, we've heard about that so much in like school books and stuff, like why would I want to relive that again? But what I've realized is that the history that we've been given is so diluted that we do not even fully grasp what our like ancestors or just like people in history have went through to get to where we are. Like, tomorrow I'm gonna go vote, and I was like literally just looking in history. Like, I've gotten so much into history after reading historical fiction books, but I'm going to vote and I'm like, it is wild, because it wasn't that long ago when people had to pay like a poll tax, or when people had to just like not have the right to vote. Like women, black people, like people who are in minority groups. It just, I think reading books like this has opened up my mind so much that like this was not as long ago as we think it was, because even within this, you're reading how these people went through these things, but you're also reading how they were not allowed to learn how to read. They were not allowed to learn how to do just like things that we consider a basic necessity for existence. And so even after they like were to get free, which is not a part of this story, it's like a very much a story of slavery. You do see like some things at the end, but like I don't want to spoil anything. But even after like slaves are allowed to get free, there are still so many obstacles that you have to go through. And I also think that there are so many things that outside of people being, you know, like whipped and stuff that you see typically in history, there's so many things that people had to endure. And it just gave me so much like, I just felt so grateful for the people in the past to even just like wake up every morning and continue to trudge through like the things that they were like having to endure. It gave me so much perspective. I feel like I will definitely continue to read books by Sadiqa Johnson. She wrote The House of Eve, and I wanted to read this one first because it's shorter. This book is actually only 277 pages, so it's really not long at all. Less than 300 pages, and there's lots of dialogue. A lot happens. There's a romance in this. There's some spice in this. Like, there's a moment where I was like, she touched what? She touched what? She did what? Like, if you, and now granted, those are just like small themes throughout the story. It's not like it's the bread and butter of it, but if you want something that's not just like, you're gonna go in, see people go through hardships, and it's gonna be into the story. Like, there's just so much more. And again, this is based on true events, because all these characters are, they have like real, the author took real names of real people who were at the Devil's Half Acre. I ate this up. I ate it up. And then I read And Then Life Was Beautiful by Asia Monique. I am already ready to read the second book in the series. This is my first pregnancy trope book. Will not be my last. Literally obsessed. I don't know how people hate the pregnancy trope, because literally the main character in this is just obsessed with taking care of the female main character in this. And like, why would we not like that? Like, you know, like why? I just loved it. I loved every second of it. It is a pregnancy trope, but you also get like single dad, and I can't really tell you why, but like you get so many different things in this story. The main character also is navigating grief. The book literally starts out where she's like going to a funeral. So you're not just seeing like pregnancy, like that's it. Like, you're seeing people deal with real things and navigating real stuff while still trying to like bring people into the world. So Really love this one. It was my first book by Asian Monique. The writing in this is very easy to read. It reminds me a lot of Natasha Bishop's writing. You're not gonna get anything that's like too intricate or too wordy, too flowery, nothing like that. But the story itself, I think, was just very beautiful. If you want like a soft romance, a romance where the guy is just going to be the sweetest ever and take care of the one that he loves, you gotta pick this one up. So those are all, no, oh my gosh, another 4.5 out of 5 star read I totally forgot about. And the reason I forgot is because I don't have it. It is The X Vows, and I ate that book up. It just was so good. I think the reason I don't have the book is because I'm pretty sure it got stolen when I was in Vegas. I think I had it like in my purse or backpack or something when I had finished it. It just was like still in there. Love that book. If you liked Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, pick up that book ASAP. Like, that book is such a beautiful read. I've also heard that Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell gives similar vibes, so I want to pick that book up and read it really, really soon. This was one book that I almost rated 5 stars. I was very close to rating it 5 stars. It gave me a lot of butterflies. It was one of those books that I really resonated with the main character so much, and I could actually see myself like reading again, which is usually my criteria for a 5-star read. But there were just a few things I was like, it's just not giving me that 5-star feeling. Like, it's not giving me the feeling. And I always just know when I have a 5-star read, because usually halfway through I'm like already wanting to read the book again, which I didn't necessarily feel that feeling with that book. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys subscribe because there's new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.